All right, camera's rolling, yeah, okay, cool, yeah, angle looks nice, I like that. All right, wardrobe, where are you at? I need a little shirt change, please. Great, feels good. Sound speed, art department, out of frame, picture looks good. What's up guys, Jazz Davis here. I'm coming to you with a quick After Effects tutorial based off of one of my new recent Instagram posts. It's a little animation piece. Check it out. Yeah, that was a fun little piece I got to make while I've been working from home here. It was a bit of a challenge presented by DJI to create some unique visuals using their DJI Osmo Pocket. A powerful little camera. This thing shoots 4K, some flat color profiles, and is extremely smooth on the gimbal. So had a blast creating that. And making stuff while home on quarantine, as I'm sure many of you are, is not the easiest thing. It's definitely a creative challenge to try and force yourself to think within a confined space. You know, we don't have these bigger locations that we may normally get to go to make stuff. So it's definitely a fun push to try and make stuff in that way. So yeah, let's hop into After Effects. I'm gonna go over some basics on how I made some frames of this IG piece, and I'll go over 3D tracking, importing 3D models, and just some basics behind After Effects that I've learned over the years. And it's gonna be great. Let's do it. All right, so I've got After Effects open here. The main clip we're gonna be reviewing today, and I'm gonna show you a little bit behind how I animated it, is the shoe clip here. Shot in 4K 24 on the Osmo Pocket, nice and smooth with the gimbal. Check out a little behind the scenes footage of me recording that clip.
And we're gonna be shooting a shoe setup. Shoes. And yeah, I know I want this shot to be about 10 seconds or so. Easy. The stabilization is gonna be great. It was some B-roll. We'll see if that gets used or not.
So yeah, that was super fun. Let's jump into it. First thing I'm gonna do, just drag and import this shoe clip here. Actually, even before that, it's always smart to save your projects. So let's just do that right off the bat. Tutorial time, and save. And we've got our shoe clip here, and let's go right click, new comp from selection. And you know, look at that, scrubs through nice and smooth. It's always crazy to me, where does, you know, inspiration come from? It can come from wherever. I don't know, you know, I was literally just cruising the internet and I saw this amazing 3D scan of a pair of Jordans, and I was like, oh, I want to work with that. It looks amazing. I have some old Jordans and some other shoes. Let me just make a little scene out of it, and that's how this whole little bit came to be. So yeah, you know, it comes out of nowhere, and yeah. Let's go ahead and track this image. The main thing of that whole video I posted, you know, there's a lot of 3D tracking, and After Effects does an amazing job with tracking. It's super fun and smooth. So let's go ahead and try it here. We're gonna click on our clip and then go down to track camera in the lower right-hand corner. If you do not see that tracker window there, you can go to window and then it's down here, tracker. If you're having trouble finding it there, a nice thing about working in Mac and After Effects, you can just go to the help window, type in tracker, and it will show you right where it is in After Effects. So that's our tracker window. There's a lot of great tools in there, but we're just gonna focus on the 3D camera tracker today. So let's click that and see what it does. So it's tracking our image. We got 263 frames to go. I'll check back in with you after it's done. Okay, now that we have our shoe clip all tracked, let's check it out. So we click on 3D camera tracker in the effects and look at all those amazing tracking points that pop up. I love it. All those points mean that we have a nicely tracked image and it's gonna be smooth to work with, hopefully. The first thing we're gonna do, scan through these and kind of picture where we would want our 3D model to appear in the scene or the images that we're tracking. And I want it to be somewhere on the floor there. And yeah, so I'm gonna aim wherever is closest to that. I'm obviously gonna have to rework it a bit because you don't see anything that tracks smoothly right on the ground there. But let's just put it right around here for now. And I'm gonna right click, create a solid and camera. You can also create a null, but I like using solids because I can just see them track throughout the image as I'm scrubbing, and it just gives me a better idea of what the final composite might look like. So that looks pretty good. Let's move forward and get into importing our 3D objects. So for using 3D in After Effects, I've just started using Element 3D. It's an incredible plugin by Video Copilot. It's been around for probably like 8 years now, and I remember when it first came out, it was so groundbreaking and I just never got into it. Andrew Kramer does a great job creating that plugin, and yeah, it's an amazing piece of software, and let's get into messing around with it. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna go new, solid, and that's gonna be our element 3D layer. Up in effects, I'm gonna type in element and drag and drop that on there. So nothing happens. You can see our black solid becomes translucent, and let's go to scene setup here. And here's our little 3D world in Element 3D plugin. It's super fun to mess around with. So let's go ahead and import our Jordan, and I am gonna import the high poly version right here, and yeah, let's go for it. And there we go. You can see it looks very small. Don't know what the deal is with that. I'm gonna go to normalize size right here under transform, and it pops up bigger. You can also see that our textures did not load on there. I'm sure there's a way to import with your textures already mapping on there, but I don't know how to do that. I'm a little bit of a noob. Like I said, I've only been in Element for a few months. I actually always used to use Cinema 4D, and I don't know why I've really started to grow into liking Element 3D. It's just a fast render engine, and it's easy, it's quick. Versus Cinema, where my renders, I'm not on the craziest computer setup, so they do take a bit longer of time. So let's go ahead and get these textures on here. We're gonna drop our high poly diffuse image on there, and boom, it already looks better. Let's drop a bump on there because I saw that in the texture pack. There it is, and voila, that helps a lot. You can also in Element mess around with the lighting. There's all sorts of different options here. I usually tend to be around 360 lighting because it just kind of helps the whole image illuminate nicely. We can also mess with the environment. I'm gonna keep it on this basic 2K 3 image, but there's lots of options here that will help. Maybe we try that actually. Basic 2K 11. Press OK to get me out of here. We can uncheck draft textures. I don't know if that does anything, what that does, but I click it. It definitely slows the program down. Okay, so that's looking fun. Let's check it out in our scene now. And bam, look at that. It's already doing a little something, tracking in that 3D space, and that's looking pretty cool already, but let's get it looking more awesome. The first thing we want to do, we definitely want to move that more back towards our tracking solid, so let's go ahead and do that. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go down to the coordinates of the tracking solid. You can see the position right there. It's a 3D layer, and then I'm going to come to our group 1 in Element 3D and match those coordinates. Element 3D is not a 3D layer in its own panel here for this piece. We actually control the 3D coordinates in the actual group within the effect panel. So yeah, I'm just gonna copy these position coordinates from the track solid into the element 3D group 1, and that will match them. Let's try that, 683.9. Also, I'm sure there's a way to copy paste these coordinates. I don't know it. Ooh, I gotta figure that out. Okay, that is already looking awesome right on our little zone where our track solid is. Let's go ahead and hide that track solid. And look at that. Obviously a few things wrong. Right off the bat, I see the scale. Scale's completely off, so we're gonna have to fix that. There's also no floor, there's no shadow going on, and the shadow's what's gonna give us the most realistic, most eye-catching look to the whole scene. So we're gonna have to add that in, and then also I can tell that the lighting is off because there's dark shadow in the back there. So let's go ahead and solve all that right now. We're gonna go back into our scene setup, and we are gonna scale this puppy up. Let's scale it up 500, I don't know. Let's just try that out. We can also scale back in our group to see it live, but just as a basis, let's try that. I'm also gonna add in the floor, which is gonna give us our shadow capabilities. So what I wanna do is I wanna go create plane. You can see it's actually buried behind the shoe right now. Let's go to normalize size. Let's bring that up also to 500. There's our plane. Let's drag it as if it were actually a floor that the Jordan was sitting on. And there we go, something like that. Looks good. Let's make it a little bit bigger, 750. And as you can see now, it's just a solid plane. We don't want that appearing in our scene. What we actually want is a matte shadow. So Element 3D comes with a bunch of great presets. Let's check them out here. Go to physical, go down to matte shadow right here, just drop that on your plane, and that's gonna help things out a lot. We don't see it right here. If you need to toggle that on and off, click the material, go all the way to the bottom and toggle on off matte shadow, and you can see it doing its thing. Let's go ahead and also put our plane model up in its own group folder. So what we're gonna do, drag that out of group 1 and change it to group 2 right here. That will allow our plane to stay where it is, and if we want to make any adjustments to our shoe itself with its location, its size, whatever, that we can do and it won't affect the plane model. Let's press OK and see how that looks. Okay, something went completely wrong. The shoe is way too big, and that's all right. And we also don't see any shadow, even though we added in that matte floor. So let's go ahead and take care of the scale first. I'm just gonna do it live. Come down to particle look in group 1, and let's scale that down. And something around there is looking good. I have it at 5.9 now. Much better. As you can see, that's also negatively affecting our track on the shoe. It's not looking as smooth, so we're gonna have to troubleshoot that a little bit right now. Everything that I do in this program, I feel, and with like half the videos I make, it's all guess and check. It's troubleshooting. Everything goes wrong, and you know, every once in a while it comes out right. So let's, I like the scale. Let's worry about the tracking a little bit later. Let's get some shadow in just to help our scene out. I'm gonna come down to the render settings in Element 3D. This is so important, you know, and what we're gonna do is enable ambient occlusion. And already right off the bat, you can see not much happened, but let's up the intensity a little bit. And you can see some shadow starting to come into the scene here, mainly affecting just the shoe. And I was just curious right here, why is my floor not doing anything? I'm not seeing any floor shadows. I forgot that I also had to copy the coordinates from our track solid or our group 1 into the group 2 folder here. And let's go ahead and do that. 1319. Because technically we made this all within Element and we lined it up in Element, so we need these coordinates to all be the same. and that should help us match everything up. Okay. And let's go ahead and also scale it down, because we scaled it down here in Element on the effects panel. We're gonna make that 5.9, and look at that, our shadows are there and brought to life. That helps a ton, you know. You can see right now it's way over the top, so we're gonna have to drag that intensity slider down a little bit and make it something a little bit more realistic. So I've got my intensity set to 14 now under ambient occlusion, and that is feeling a lot better. Okay, so we have our shadows looking nice. Let's go ahead and add some movement to this. I know that our track is dragging a lot, and we will go back and adjust that to make it look a little bit more realistic, but I want to add the movement that the shoe is actually going to be doing first. So as you could see in the example, I had the shoe float into the air like it's, you know, got some superpowers or something. And let's go ahead and try that. I'm gonna keyframe my location of the shoe at the start. I like it there. Position X, position Z, and we're gonna keyframe some rotation positions there as well. So that's at the start, it's laying flat, and then at the end, I just want it floating in the air with its superpowers like so. Let's rotate it a little bit. Maybe it does a little bit of a flip like that. We get to see the sole too. That part of the scan came out really nice. I think I got this scan from CG Trader. Awesome website for just finding great 3D models, and you can get some cool inspiration for random scenes you may want to make over there using fun objects and stuff like that. So let's go ahead. Oh, look at that. That's looking sweet already. And just doing something like that, it kind of fixed our need to go ahead and rework the tracking, because our whole shoe turns into some magical floating object. We don't need to worry about the perfection of the tracking as much anymore. If you did need to worry about the tracking perfection more, you can go around and replay with these position coordinates, and then also getting them closer to the actual track solid, toggle that on and off, and try and have it really overlaying with that, because we know that was the point in the scene that was tracking the best. That's fun. That's already looking awesome. So a couple more things I want to cover. I am going fairly quick. Our shadow in the back looks pretty messed up. That's not right. Let's go ahead and try and add in another light to this scene. We don't want that dark shadow in the back. We're just gonna go right click, new light, make it a spotlight, and that already helps a ton. So yeah, let's tone down the intensity a little bit, maybe bring it to 60. Another thing that we're gonna do just to even out the scene, that's probably one of the most important things with the color grading, you wanna make your exposures seem seamless throughout. You want it to be the same. So our shoe right now, slightly brighter and more contrasty than our background. Let's even those out a little bit. I'm gonna bring in an Lumetri color, drop it on our shoe clip, and I'm just gonna do some basic color. Let's bring it up 0.5 maybe, and a little more contrast, and yeah, something with the highlights a little bit more up like that. That's helping things a ton and kind of bringing some realism to our scene. You can see that the Jordan's going out of the light, which honestly looks so cool, but isn't necessarily the most real. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna bring up the cone angle, and that's just gonna project our light bigger throughout the scene. So, yep, and I'm actually bringing my intensity back up. I was wrong. Guess and check. This whole thing is like a big guess and check. But yeah, that's the basic gist of tracking and bringing some fun 3D objects into a scene to make some real otherworldly situation maybe happen. I like it for how quick we were just flying. Super fast, I want to run through some render settings that I use with Element 3D and then exporting from After Effects. So let's go back up to our black solid, click the element layer, and go down to our render settings. We're gonna go under ambient occlusion. Let's bump this SSAO quality up to high. That will help things. You can already see it gets a little more sharp, and the shadows just become a bit nicer. Say you wanted your light to create some shadows. The light we dropped in the scene, you can enable them here, and then you can also enable them here, cast shadows. We don't need that. I think that just dropping the spotlight on there helped the whole thing altogether. And I'm gonna go to output and bump up the multi-sampling to 16 or 32 depending on your computer. You can also bump up the super sampling. That takes a lot on the computer. I enhance the multi-sampling, and that's gonna be a big help just to the scene quality wise. And yeah, you know, the scrubbing situation now is a lot slower, but for the render that's gonna look awesome. And yeah, I'm liking how that looks. Right now I would go File, Export, Add to Render Queue. And you know, you can mess around, do a ProRes render. And then what I do after that is I bring this export back into Premiere. If I haven't done a dynamic link starting in Premiere, I bring it back into Premiere and I do all my coloring and my fine edits there. I don't do all my compositing right in After Effects. I like to color in Premiere, and I like to do little cuts and edits in Premiere as well. I don't know why, that's just what I do. Maybe I'm a little different, but yeah. Okay, so last thing really quick, let's say you don't want to get Element 3D, you just want to work in After Effects and not have to think about any plugins or learn something new. Let's make something using 3D tracking just with the solo standalone program. So I'm gonna hide all of the stuff we just did. We're gonna keep our 3D tracker in there because that's great. And let's go ahead and add a solid to one of these track points here. How about on the shoe, right around where the logo is? I'm gonna right click, create solid. Track's really nice, all fun. And let's go ahead and like create something with a little Nike logo popping out of there, doing its thing. I'm gonna drag and drop the logo in there. It's right in the middle now. We're gonna make it a 3D layer, and you can already see right off the bat, it just starts tracking in the scene, which is amazing. It looks cool like that, you know. It's kind of neat just being there and staying tracked and going in and out of the camera range. Let's do a little bit more. Maybe we can hide our track solid. Let's flip it around so it's matching. We're just gonna go to rotation, do a 180 there on the Y-axis, and let's bring it to the coordinates where our track solid was lined up, because that was right next to the shoe. Pretty nice there. We can scale that up maybe. P, kind of bring it over there. Maybe we want to, I don't know, I'm really just randomly going through stuff here. Maybe we want it to eventually like pop out more to really give it some depth. And we could also go to its blending options here, its blending mode, and have it be an overlay that kind of looks a bit nicer. But yeah, let's make it pop out over time. So we could Command C, Command V that logo, and right here at this point, we're gonna press P for position. We want it to be further out towards the camera, like that, I guess. It's kind of cool, I think. I'm taking a random guess. Bing. Let's do that again. P. Bing, bing. Yeah, that's like, you know, it's doing something kind of cool. We got all these things hanging on to our scene, I guess. You know, we can also flash the opacity. That's kind of a nice thing to do. So press T, brings up your opacity, do a keyframe. Next frame, bring it down to like 25%, then back to 100. And then next frame, let's Alt-click on the timer and go to loop and out, loop out. Just keep it at 0, and look at that. We got a nice flashing logo there, although it's just the one in the back. But you can experiment with things like that, just tracking images in the scene, shape layers, what have you. Kind of interesting stuff there. Let's add one more fun square over here, I don't know, just to give it some more depth. I'll come back to our 3D tracker, do a little solid there, get those coordinates. That looks nice. We could even pre-compose this solid right here, and then we've got a whole group here that we can mess around with. So say I wanted to just create a easy square right here, we could do something like that. I like to align my things, so go up here, I just go to help. Where's my align panel? It pops up right there. Bang, bang, boom. And we got that. Actually, I forgot I want to hide this track solid. And we got a little thing there. We got to scale that down. Rotate it a little bit to match the actual angle of things. Where does it look good? It's like right there kind of thing. Maybe bring the position down a bit on the Y. And yeah, something like that. And then let's bring this out. Let's duplicate that and mess around with the Z axis, just seeing it kind of be a outward situation. It's cool just seeing things. The Z axis is the fun one to play with, I'd say. Yeah, it just adds like a cool 3-dimensional feel to it. Yeah, there's all sorts of situations you can get yourself into with 3D tracking. It's an amazing feature in After Effects. I highly recommend learning more about it, playing around with it, and making some cool stuff for the web and for people's eyeballs. So yeah, that's a very little behind the scenes look into some 3D tracking in After Effects. I hope you guys maybe learned a little something. If you created anything fun with this, please feel free to tag me. I absolutely love to see everything you guys make. And thank you so much for watching. Hope to be in touch, and peace.